Peter Van Onselen, Network 10. You've often described John Howard as a mentor. As Treasurer, he worked for a pretty unimpressive Prime Minister. He presided over a recession, and he only handed down one balanced budget. The rest were wall-to-wall deficits. Are you worried that that could be your fate, or do you see the upside? He managed to, despite a pretty poor treasurership, go on to become a very successful long-term Prime Minister once he was able to get his own way on things.
Always a provocative question from PVO. Look, the reality is, Peter, certainly when I took on the role of Treasurer, I couldn't have expected or dreamed of the fact that I'd be standing here having just announced the budget that I did last night, because nobody could have envisaged that we would go through a once-in-a-century pandemic and the biggest hit to the Australian economy since the Great Depression. I mean, Australia has been hit by an economic meteor. 1.3 million of our fellow Australians either lost their jobs or saw their working hours reduced to zero. So just as John Howard said to me, in times of national crisis, there are no ideological constraints, we acted, and decisively and comprehensively. And the net result of that is we are the first of the major advanced economies to see our employment levels now rise above where they were going into the pandemic. 75,000 more Australians are in a job today than when this crisis first hit. And we have stood pretty firm when it comes to extending programs like JobKeeper, which the opposition asked us to do beyond 12 months, and standing firm on issues like that have actually been the right decision, because over 100,000 people have come off income support since JobKeeper ended, and that cliff that some people were speculating on never arrived. So we continue to roll out our plan. We made a decision as a leadership team, as a cabinet, as a government, that this budget was not a time for austerity. We couldn't take our foot off the accelerator. We had to consolidate the gains, because if we didn't, those gains could have been lost. This global environment is still pretty fragile, and it's a confidence game. And unless people in this room and businesses right around the country, big and small, have confidence that we're successfully suppressing the virus, they won't invest, they won't hire, they won't grow. And that's why we are taking those difficult decisions around borders. That's why we are spending in areas like skills and infrastructure. I'm very confident that we have taken the right decisions to support the economy. And if you ask me what I think has been the most significant achievement of the Australian public over the last 12 months, and indeed the government's support in that achievement, has been we've prevented a generation of Australians being lost to long-term unemployment. That was in question when Treasury said that the unemployment rate could reach as high as 15%, and we saw those images of our fellow Australians lining up outside Centrelink, and they were reminiscent of the Great Depression. That level of fear was right across the economy. And we acted decisively, and now Australia is ahead of the global pack.
Andrew Probyn.